Welcome to Firearms Friday from the Wyoming State Museum in Cheyenne. I'm Evan Green, the firearms historian for the museum. And today, for this episode, I want to talk about this old rusty wreck of an 1860 Army revolver. This came to us that it was allegedly owned by a guy named George Darwin Jinks, who achieved the rank of captain during the Mexican War. And the story is that this revolver went with him when he went to California in the 1850s. Well, it's in model 1860 that was manufactured in 1861. The serial numbers are still visible. So probably didn't go with George Jinks to California. And it's interesting, one source says, oh, he went to California and crossed the Isthmus of Panama. And the other one says, no, he went across the plains to get to California. Apparently he went to California, but he certainly didn't take this firearm. And what makes it fascinating to me, it's one of those you wish it could talk. You wish you knew the story that went with it. Because right here, you can see that there is a ball protruding from the front of the cylinder. And if you attempted to cock the gun repeatedly, that protruding ball would eventually hang up on the frame and prevent the revolver from functioning. So also note that the wedge that holds the revolver together is missing. And the barrel unit is slid slightly forward. So was the guy who actually had this revolver, and I don't think it was George Jinks, the guy who had this revolver, was he in a hot fight? The revolver jammed, and he pulled the wedge out to try and clear that jam. No way to tell, really. There's, one, two, I can't tell about the one in front of the barrel. I think there are four loaded chambers and two that are empty and have been fired. So was the guy in a hot fight and his gun jammed? He got rode down, shot down. Nobody knows, and there's no way to tell. But again, if it could just talk and decide whether or not that happened. And it could have been, I tend to romanticize some of these things probably. And it could have been, it's grandpa's old gun and the kids were playing with it and lost the wedge and ended up in the trash pile. Nobody knows. But again, you can compare it to what we have here, which is another relatively good condition, very good condition, I would say, Colt 1860 Army. And the Union during the Civil War purchased about 120,000 of these. It was the single most purchased handgun by the Union in the Civil War, and it was valued by the soldiers on both sides. The Confederates were happy to get one if it was a battlefield pickup. So again, it was also used on both sides during the Civil War. The second most purchased revolver, and I don't remember the number on it, was the Remington model of 1861. The Remington had some advantages in that it had a top strap, which is missing on the Colt Armies. All of the Colt percussion revolvers have this open top. And you could remove the cylinder from the Remington by pulling the cylinder pin out, and you could remove the cylinder to clear a jam, to make it more convenient to load, whatever. You could get the cylinder out without disassembling, as was the case with the 1860 Army. Again, to disassemble it, you had to take this barrel wedge out. So you had this little piece, this barrel wedge. Then you pulled the barrel assembly off, and then you had the cylinder. So you had four floating parts. And if you dropped that little wedge somewhere, you were done because you couldn't make the revolver work. Couldn't get it back together unless you had that wedge. So anyway, Colt 1860 Army revolvers. This is a really nice one. This is one of my favorites. I pick it up and pretend I'm in the cavalry. So anyway, thanks for watching.